Angel laid him away. Angel laid him away. They laid him 6 feet under the clay. Angel laid him away.
One thing that tarnishes Cardinal John Henry Newman's legacy was not really his fault. He wrote an essay on the development of doctrine, and it was primarily for Protestants to try to explain how the Church defines doctrines that aren't explicitly stated, but for which all the elements are present in Scripture or in the writings of the early Church Fathers. And these types of things include the doctrine of the Holy Trinity, purgatory, and the Immaculate Conception. However, his essay on the development of doctrine was eventually treated as dogma, though it was never promulgated or endorsed by any council. This is despite the fact that there are arguing points against his essay. Pope St. Agatho wrote, "Nothing of the things appointed ought to be diminished, nothing changed, nothing added, but they must be preserved both as regards to expression and meaning." In any case, the Second Vatican Council hijacked Cardinal Newman's concept of the development of doctrine and twisted and contorted it into claiming that things that were once true were no longer true. However, the illicit pronouncements of the Council cannot be blamed on Cardinal Newman, and it's hoped that after a restoration of all things that are good and profitable, the issue of development of doctrine can be better defined by a future Pope and Council. Cardinal Newman was canonized as a saint by the Novus Ordo Church. I'm going to do a series of videos explaining why that probably wasn't a very good idea. In future videos, we'll explain how Cardinal Newman was considered a liberal in his own time. Liberalism had been condemned by Pope Gregory XVI. He opposed the pronouncement of the doctrine of papal infallibility prior to the First Vatican Council. He was the first prominent Catholic to argue that Pope Pius IX's syllabus of errors was not dogmatic, and he set the table for modern-day liberal Catholics. In his own time, he is thought to be effeminate. This last point seems to be related to the topic of this video, which is Cardinal Newman's relationship with Father Ambrose St. John. The two men were very close and lived together for 32 years. The two men, who had been Protestants, were received into the Church in October of 1845. They were received at the same time, standing side by side. After that, they never separated. Father St. John signed letters on behalf of Father Newman, and the two of them were traveling companions, traveling to Rome with each other. Newman wrote of St. John, "And to you especially, dear Ambrose St. John, whom God gave me, when he took everyone away, who are the link between my old life and my new, and have now for 21 years been so devoted to me, so patient, so zealous, so tender, who have let me lean so hard upon you, who have watched me so narrowly, who have never thought of yourself if I was in question." Apologists for the canonization of Cardinal Newman claim that men expressed themselves differently in those times, but tender is an unusual word to describe a friendship with another man. Then, in May of 1875, Father St. John died of brain fever. In the Royal Cornwall Gazette, he was called the constant companion of Dr. Newman. In his obituary in the Waterford News, it says that Dr. Newman was awfully cut up about the death of Father St. George. After the death of Father St. George, Cardinal Newman wrote, "I've never thought no bereavement was equal to that of a husband's or a wife's, but I feel it difficult to believe that any can be greater, or anyone's sorrow greater than mine." He also wrote, "I wish with all my heart to be buried in Father Ambrose St. John's grave, and I give this as my last, my imperative will." He made that request on 3 different occasions. So in accordance with Cardinal Newman's request, we read here that in August of 1890, after he died, Cardinal Newman was buried in the same grave as Father St. John. The grave of Father Ambrose was open for the interment of the Cardinal. At the head of each of the 8 or 9 graves in the churchyard was a simple stone cross, similar to the rest except that it bears 2 names. It marks the place where Father Ambrose St. John and John Henry Cardinal Newman sleep their last sleep together. Here's an image of the tombstone with both of their names. Now, I've done a little research and I found examples where family members, when they died together, were buried in the same coffin. However, I can't find any examples where a saint was buried with someone else. But let's up the ante a little bit. Let's see if we can find anyone, a single person, Even a notorious public sinner who ordered that someone's grave be dug up, someone unrelated to him and of the same sex, so that he could be buried with him. And I don't believe that you'll find any such person in all the history of Christendom, at least none before the Second World War. And the reason for that is that such a burial was at the very least scandalous. And the only reason that Cardinal Newman got away with it was that he had such a high profile. It was something with which his executor should have refused to comply. We know with certainty that the way he was buried was scandalous because the gay community now claims that Father Cardinal Newman is one of their own. Father James Martin tells us that he believes Cardinal Newman may have been gay. But even if the relationship was entirely platonic, the request of Cardinal Newman to be buried with another man was inherently scandalous. He wasn't an ignorant man, and he would have understood this. His words and actions have now given the gay community a reason to believe that homosexuality is compatible with Catholicism. According to St. Thomas Aquinas, another's words or deeds may be the cause of another's sin in two ways, directly and accidentally. Directly, when a man intends by his evil word or deed to lead another man into sin, or if he does not so intend, when his deed is of such a nature as to lead another into sin. For instance, when a man publicly commits a sin or does something that has the appearance of sin. So, for my Novus Ordo friends who stumble upon this video, you might ask, to what purpose am I making this video? What good does it do? But this video is being made especially for you. Its purpose is to help nudge you and to make you ask yourself as to whether there is something broken with the Novus Ordo Church. And if you come to the realization that there is indeed something broken with the Novus Ordo Church, and you just shrug your shoulders and don't do anything about it, and if you say to yourself that you're going to let the Novus Ordo bishops fix it, then perhaps you should ask yourself whether there is something broken with your will. Nothing will change unless the laity demands that change. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again within a week with another one. But in the meantime, please check out my Facebook page and my Twitter page. Every day I post additional content that you won't find on this YouTube channel. And also, please pray for the church.
Angel laid him away. Angel laid him away. They laid him 6 feet under the clay. Angel laid him away.